Warrington Wolves, 24 people wondering, could Warrington back up that Challenge Cup win of 31 points to 8 at the Totally Wicked earlier in the season? Saints were on a 7-game winning streak coming into this game over the wire in Super League, and Warrington got the job done. And it has to be said, if it weren't for the sending off of James Harrison, would it have been by a far greater margin? There's no question about that. Warrington down to 12, down to 11 as well for 10 minutes in this game. And St Helens, quite frankly, could not penetrate enough the Warrington Wolves defensive guard. An outstanding performance from Warrington in that department. Everybody would have to concede. They defended for their lives. St Helens really pressured throughout the game in this. I mean, when you're down to 11, it's a simple game, rugby league. You've just got to go left to right. And for whatever reason, there was just no structure to the Saints attacking plays at times. It was really, really poor. It was a time at 11, when Warrington down to 11, for the likes of Johnny Lomax to grab them by the horns. Daz Clark as well, say, right, let's settle this down. Let's just play simple rugby league, left to right, coast to coast. We'll go in on the edges. They didn't do that for whatever reason. Warrington had them rattled. I mean, Warrington's defensive display this season, one thing that is crystal clear, Sam Burgess and the coaching team at Warrington have done a phenomenal job on really tightening up the defensive unit. You know, we're seeing some real good discipline in some really, you know, let's be fair, they're having to show resilience at key moments in the game. They're right under the cosh. They were under the cosh for loads of that second half of the Warrington Wolves, and they stood up time and time again with big defensive reads and big defensive plays. You've got to give them their credit for that. Paul Wellens gave Warrington credit. Red VTV gave Warrington Wolves credit. I mean, if they're giving people credit, you know Warrington must have played well, and they did. Saints, you know, 4 games in a row now losing in Super League. Next week they go up against League. Surely it can't be 5. Question marks being asked over Paul Wellens, which I think is a little bit unfair considering how many injuries that he's got currently on his roster. You know, questions being made in terms of some of their key personnel. Johnny Lomax coming in for real criticism after this game on certain pages. But it's not all bad for St Helens. Their shining lights in this game were the likes of Vaughan, who had a great game. Royal come on and took his try really, really well as well. We know Robertson's one for the future, albeit he didn't shine as much in this as he did against Wigan. What were your thoughts on the red card of James Harrison? I personally thought that's pretty harsh. I'll be very keen to see what the match review panel do on that on Monday when we see what their verdict is on that one. Personally, I thought it was a yellow at worst there for the Warrington Wolves. But hey, there you go. These things happen. What can you say? Warrington, like I say, absolutely superb. Got off to a great start. Matty Ashton, lovely try. Yet again, good to see Matty Ashton back for the Warrington Wolves. And then the Duffy try. What a wonderful, wonderful try. It was outstanding. Lovely cornering. Off he goes. Oh, he just went for a little walk, didn't he? Incredible stuff. Sliced through. I mean, you know, did Robertson. And again, he'll learn from that. Will Harry Robertson, but it was a wonderful run from from Matty Duffy. Outstanding. Another great game from Duffy this. I mean, Pete, we had a bit of a pelter last week saying let's stop the loving on Matty Duffy. Why? At this moment in time, there's not many better players in Super League than Matty Duffy, certainly in attacking play. He had another brilliant game against the Saints. Another 197 metres ran. I mean, he's absolutely doing metres for fun. And unlike other players in Super League, those metres are forward running metres. They're not side to side. They're not going anywhere. There's an end product at the end of them. And Matty Duffy had an absolutely sensational game. I thought Noah Stevens played well again for the Saints in attacking, you know, in those attacking runs. 15 carries, 84 metres from the young man. I think he's got a big future. I'm very excited about Noah Stevens in the same way I'm excited about Junior Nsemba over there at the Wigan Warriors. And another player who maybe is in the shadow, certainly of Nsemba, the Warrington Wolves, Adam Holroyd. I think Holroyd is, you know, he's one of those players that you'll see him on a team sheet and think, oh, we've got a chance here. Not at all. He's so strong in defence, 31 tackles in this game. And, you know, he took his try really well. Delighted for Adam Holroyd in this one. Matty Nicholson, of course, talking to Sam Burgess, mic'd up. That was nice to, you know, nice moment, wasn't it? I mean, we got a real insight in this game into Sam Burgess' man management, courtesy of that Sky, you know, microphone on Sam Burgess. Some wonderful moments. So Gene up his players. Sam Powell, go and get this one for me. Real personal stuff there. Then, of course, calming down Matty Nicholson for that 10 minutes that he was off for his yellow card. Come on, don't worry about that. You know, love you, man. Get on that field. And what do you know? Matty Nicholson scores the final try of the game for the Warrington Wolves to seal what for them is a really important win. A very strong performance, this from Warrington. Any team that go to the Totally Wicked Stadium, it's never going to be easy. I mean, don't get me wrong. I do think it could have been a real battering for Saints. I'm going to say it, I thought Warrington were so in control of that game up till Harrison went off, and then the momentum turned. And the only time really that Saints looked as if they've got any sort of foothold in the game was when they were down to 11 men for that 10-minute period. They just couldn't put enough points on the board. But once Warrington got back to the 12 players, I thought Warrington again then just started to slowly impose themselves back into the game, got some key moments right, did Warrington, certainly in defence. I mean, no, Saints made some errors. I get that. I understand that. Saints made some real blinding errors when they, with a bit of composure, like I say, could have gone over the line. But Warrington, defensively, simply outstanding. Some really, really big efforts in there. Like I say, Holborn for 31 tackles. Curry did 31 tackles. It was pretty actually split right across the board, really, for Warrington. They all stood up and they all did a really proper job in defence. Right. I mean, look, Warrington now. I mean, next up for them, the Wigan Warriors. I mean, two massive games for both teams on the horizon. Saints going up against Leigh. That's going to be an interesting game. Leigh desperately need a win. They'll fancy it. They will fancy it against Saints in terms of what they've seen over recent weeks of the Saints. Leigh desperately need to win this one. That's one not to be missed. And as for the Warrington Wolves, they go up against the Wigan Warriors at the Brick Community Stadium. Now, don't get me wrong. There's only 2 points separating these two teams. Yes, Wigan have a game in hand. But if the Warrington Wolves can turn over the Wigan Warriors this week and go 28-28, Wigan probably will still be top on points difference at that point. But all of a sudden, it's really tightened it up. And of course, Hull KR, if they get a win this weekend as well, they'd go on 28. And we'd have 3 teams on 28 points at the end of this week. And that could be really interesting in terms of what happens between now and the end of the season where the league leaders is concerned. I still fancy Wigan Warriors for the league leaders. I think they've got far too much depth in their squad and they will come good. But the fact that Bevan French currently is out, that Field is out, they are missing some key personnel. Is that going to open a door for maybe Warrington or KR to just make it a little bit harder for them? And who knows, sneak in. As we've seen this weekend, if Hull FC can do what they've done to Wigan, it certainly is game on, not only for the playoffs, but also for the League Leaders Shield. Right, let's get into the 3-2-1. Who am I giving 3 points to? It has to be. It's Matt Duffy. Brilliant try, wasn't it? Beautiful try. Oh, yes, outstanding. Roll around your city on that one. That was outstanding stuff from Mr. Duffy. Like we said, great performance. The 2 points I'm going to give to George Williams. George Williams was criticised in the Challenge Cup final, not turning up against the likes of Wigan. In this one, he turned up against Saints. He needs to have a big display, though, against Wigan this week. 2 very nicely assisted tries from him. Did a bit of running as well, 126 metres from 15 carries, did a few tackle busts as well in the game, a good clean break. I thought George really had a solid game. I thought Danny Walker played well as well. I must say that in dispatches, I thought Walker had a really strong game. But I'm going to give the 1.2 Mr. Holroyd. I think Holroyd, for me, absolutely brilliant. Really pleased for him in terms of what he does defensively, what he does at key moments. He really is a fine player, is Adam Holroyd. It's great to see him breaking through. Clearly a lot of trust between him and Sam Burgess. And for me, deserving of a point. Yes, there was other great performances in there as well, but they are the 3 that I'm going for. I can't bring myself to give any points to St. Helens players, albeit, like I say, I thought Noah Stevens really good. I don't think Roney let himself down in this one. And I thought Royal, when he came on, looked the part as well. Interesting that it's the younger players that I really enjoyed watching for the Saints this week. Big win, massive win for the Warrington Wolves. They desperately needed that one. That is a real confidence booster as we start to go towards the business end of the 2024 campaign. St. Helens 10, Warrington Wolves 24. The Wire are not giving up hope yet on the League Leaders Shield. We'll see you next time for more in the Sheds.